It's very apparent because look how smooth. Look how smooth this is. It's so smooth. When you play a game like this, it's very noticeable to have an issue because this is buttery smooth. So the second anything kind of hiccups, you know. Like, look at how clean this is to move my mouse around. Ooh. Did you update Java with those downloads? I don't think so, unless it auto-updated without me knowing. Do you not care about the FPS being lower with high graphics? You don't actually gain much FPS by being low or high in this game. It really doesn't do anything. Like, seriously. It it doesn't. You don't get anything. You don't. The frame increase is next to none. And I like having higher resolution, or sorry, higher textures, because when it comes to lineups, sometimes my lineups are as precise as a pixel, like this, right? You see how there's bricks? If you lower the graphics, the outline of the bricks might not exist, right? So when it comes to making lineups, I like having higher res. Well, it hasn't happened yet. It's been pretty clean. Like, there was a point where it was happening literally. You remember that one game of Valorant where it was happening like almost every other round? So it's not doing it now, and it's been, I'd say it's been like 3 minutes of just jumping around. It's very noticeable when it happens. It's like super noticeable. It just looks like a frame kind of skips. It hasn't happened yet. Unless it happened when I was looking away, which would suck. Could be server related. It could, but I doubt it because it is happening in other games. So, I mean, it could still be server related if it happens in other games, but I don't know. Have you done the jump course? Yeah. Holy shit. Gets out of hand. Dude, when you go from tap, tap, spray, tap, tap, dude, it gets nuts. It gets crazy. You have to either commit to keep tapping or waiting too long for it to reset, you know? It's hard. I like it. I really like the way the guns perform in this game. I really, really like it. It just, it feels good. It feels like the person who gets rewarded is usually the person who has the better aim in that exact situation. And aim could be relative to a lot of things, right? It could be better positioning, better crosshair placement, better reaction time, better mouse control in general, right? So a lot of factors go into it, but I really, really like the gunplay in this game. A lot. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is I'm not a huge fan of pistol rounds. Pistol rounds feel very awkward to me. I don't know why. They just do. Even though it's RNG? Well, it's not RNG, though. That's the thing. It's not. Like, if every single fight you're doing this, and this is kind of how you take every fight, it's still not RNG, but it is going to be a little bit a lot harder than if you just let the recoil, like, set yourself, like, how you want it, you know? I think a lot of people are misunderstanding what RNG truly is. People just, like, they really like to throw that word around a lot. Like, nonchalant, like, yeah, RNG. Well, it's like, not exactly. A lot of what's determined in a situation or gunfight is still raw mechanics and skill over one another, you know? You can blame it on RNG all you want, but that's just not the realistic scenario. So spraying isn't the way to go in Valorant? It is and it isn't, right? There's a right time to spray and there's a wrong time to spray. So it's all situational, and you have to adapt as a player and understand the best time to full spray or the best time to stop for a second and control it, you know? One of the things I really don't like about Counter-Strike, and what I do like, what I don't like about CSGO, but what I do like about this game, I'm not a fan of CS where you can kind of do something like this, where you can, like, let's say there's one guy here, okay, and he's about to peek you, and then you own him, and then you start doing this. I don't like that. Counter-Strike has a lot of that, where you're just like, it's really, really dumb. It's a lot of spraying and a lot of recoil control with the spray. Don't get me wrong, I love recoil control, but I don't like that. That serves as a crutch. That is essentially your crutch. And I don't like that. I don't like spraying being the crutch. So in this game, spraying is not the crutch, right? Spraying is like, oh shit, I'm panicking. And that's exactly how it should be, right? That's what I do like about the game. I think it helps. It's hard for me to even do it myself because I've been so used to CSGO. I played CSGO for like 7 or 8 years, and your crutch was always spraying. So it's really, really nice to not have that crutch and try to be mentally stronger, essentially. Compared to CS, do you think tapping is better? Sometimes. Depends on the gun. I think bursting is better in this game. In most cases in this game, bursting is better than tapping. But then again, it also depends on the gun, and it also depends on the situation, right? There is a range of which you don't want to burst because it's a little too far, and it'll create too much space in between your bullets. So to minimize that space, you tap instead, right? A good example is on Split. If you play Split and you're shooting somebody from screens over at over at A site on Split. If you're shooting someone from screens all the way to main, like the ramp, that's a situation where if you have the Vandal, that might be a little too far to burst because the spacing of each of your shots is going to be a little too like wide. So it might be better to tap. So usually when I take that fight, I tap. But it just all depends. It's all relative to the fight that you take and the gun that you have, right? I find it shocking that I've heard no one talk about the weapon bloom in this game on the first shot. Well, the thing is, no one's talked about the weapon bloom on the first shot because it's very, very minuscule, right? Like, the Phantom might have like a 95% success rate of first bullet accuracy, right? The Vandal might be like a 98, and then the Guardian's 100, right? So the reason why, there's a reason for why it's not 100% accurate on the first shot every time. If it was, this game would suck ass. Because there's no, like, there would be nothing that sets apart a fight besides the first bullet. And that's a bunch of bullshit. The first bullet isn't everything. It's just not. It shouldn't be. You know? Like, if you're somebody that really complains about first bullet accuracy and that's something you don't like, then just use a Guardian. If that's how you truly feel, use a Guardian and it's 100% every single time. First bullet accuracy on that gun is 100%. Always, right? You start going down the tiers of, once you start going down in the guns, right? The Phantom is less. The Vandal's more than Phantom, but not quite like the Guardian, you know? That's what kind of separates, that's what separates the guns and separates the situations, which is really, really cool. It's the same in CS, you know? Counter-Strike Go works the same exact way. That's normal. Because if you had true first bullet accuracy, the game would be a fucking mess, you know? I personally think the first shot accuracy in this game is a little high, but that just might be because the maps are relatively small, right? The maps are relatively small, so like the first shot accuracy is pretty insane because they're small. You don't have much distance. You don't have much distance to cover based off of like the randomness kicking in there. Now, I worry that a bigger map's going to set in, and it's going to make that a little bit more challenging, but I guess we'll see. No, Dr. Zanuck, the Guardian's 100% accuracy. They didn't change it. That's 100% first shot accuracy. You just might not have been waiting enough time to reset the bullet on the second one, because there is a very long timing of when your gun resets. You could click and wait for like 5 seconds, and it might not be enough. But it's all relative to how many times you've clicked prior to that. The guns in this game work in a very interesting way. They're very confusing. I figure first shot accuracy is something competitive players would want. I mean, yes and no. I don't know. It's hard to say that, right? Because like the first shot accuracy is already so high that it pretty much is insanely high first shot accuracy anyway. So making it 100%, it would change it, but it wouldn't change it that much. It would change the long range situations. And that's what I don't like. If you gave every gun 100% accuracy, the long range fights would totally be out of whack. Like I don't know. I don't explain it. It would just, it'd be weird because then you'd have no sense of like trying to figure out how to control your situation. Your situation would always be the same. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but a lot of that has to do with map design. A lot of what you're saying. The maps are pretty small besides Split. Split's the only map that has like a lot of length to it. I already played WoW. I played WoW for like 3 hours. We're done. Yeah, that would make an op less effective as well. But I think the op is too effective right now. At first, so it's kind of interesting how one's opinion could change over the course of learning a game. At first, the op looked and seemed pretty bad. But now, as time goes on, and people are starting to adapt better, it's starting to look like the op is actually a very, very powerful weapon. Like, it's scary. Like, the op is a scary weapon to go against, you know? It wasn't like that before. And I think it just wasn't like that before because people just didn't learn the game enough, so everyone was just running around fucking lost. But yeah, the op is really, really powerful for sure. I would love to see more. I'd love to see more competitive tournaments, and I'd like to see more competitive teams like play against each other to truly understand how the op is going to play. But the thing is, like, even an op in CS is really, really powerful because you're not only can you one-shot people, you're also pretty mobile. So your goal in Counter-Strike is to figure out where the opper is and displace the opper. You want him to move around. You want him to hide. You don't want him to you don't want to give him a shot. The problem in this game with the op is that you only have certain characters that can displace people. So, that being said, your chance of success on the op in this game is going to be higher than Counter-Strike. In theory. That's my theory anyway. That's what I think. I think that's the theory there because there's only a certain amount of characters that can displace people. So that means if you're going to pick an angle or you're going to take an aggressive fight, the chance of you getting displaced is a lot lower than it would be in Counter-Strike because Counter-Strike, everybody has some form of displacement, whether it's a smoke or flash grenade or Molotov. They all have it. But in this game, only some characters got flashes. Only some characters got smokes. So it's really weird. I might see a world in this game where the operator is actually too powerful. It's too early to say still, but it's funny. My main point of this is it's funny how your opinions change over time. Because at the beginning, I thought the op was trash because it was so slow. But in reality, it's actually pretty fucking nuts. There's just guns other than Vandal, Phantom, and Operator need buffs. No, they all serve their purpose. The weird ones is they're really trying to make heavy weapons work. They're really trying to make the Ares and Odin work. But in reality, like, I think that's too hard to do. You start trying to minimize that, like you're trying to minimize that gap, and then the game gets a little fucking whack. Like, sometimes there's just guns that are troll guns. And that's okay. But the developers are really, really trying to make every single gun good for every single situation. They're really, really trying. Like, they're really trying to make them have a purpose. But, I don't know. I don't agree with that.